has a tradition of excellence dating back to 1859. Let's continue that excellence here. Welcome back to Chatting at the Sea. I am your host, of course, Ben Beckman. I'm joined by legendary alumni, Coach Matt Storm. Storm, how are we doing today?
We're doing well. How are you?
Just a great day.
Great day to be here.
The short weeks always seem the longest, though, don't they?
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
4-day school weeks. I mean,
short. That's very, as long as I've been here, I think you might be the first one that put it that way, but short weeks feel the longest. There's some truth behind that.
That's
Absolutely.
always how it goes. It just feels
not
that
the
way.
worst, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's
Fighting the fight.
Well, let's get into our first question. You know this one well. What makes Central such a special place?
Central is a special place to me because to me it's Central's always been family. I grew up in the building,
Yeah.
and I know we'll get into that here in a little bit, but I grew up Central basketball games, Central wrestling meets, Central wrestling duels, football games in the building, running around the halls as a kid, being told not to get in trouble, but then you get in some trouble. But it's a special place in my heart. It's super special to me because it's all about family. It's a big family culture to me. And that saying that Dr. Bigsby was big on back when I first got here is once an eagle, always an eagle. I think there's a lot of truth to be told to that. So
yeah, anybody I talked to with him about oh, this person's in this, or it's like, they're a Central alum, or they taught here. He's
right.
Like, once an eagle, always an eagle.
You find I say this in a funny way, but you find Central alumni everywhere you go. I found them in Europe, Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're floating around everywhere, and they're it's a big community. That's what I like about it the most too, is the family atmosphere, and it's just a culture and a community of people that really do care about this place.
So of course, your mom being a special education department head, one of the Buffett Award winners, probably only here at Central at least, special education does not get enough love. One of the only Buffett Award winners. Your sister, of course, is an alumni here. So Central is family. So take us through how it is such a big part.
It's funny. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually a third-generation employee because my mom's mother, my grandmother, was she worked in the cafeteria back in the day when it was on the fourth floor, and I think they were cooking food back then up there, and so it is family. It's a third-generation employee thing. My mom's a South High grad.
Yeah,
which we don't, and shout out to South High. She's a South High Hall of Fame member.
Academy
so
named after her.
We're OPS through and through, but Central's where our heart is. My mom spent the majority of her career here, like you said. So it's just been a long process of a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
A lot of fun. A lot of people, a lot of people that come and go and are in and out, but they're still like family. Like, I had a conversation the other day about Tim Herbert with somebody.
Yeah.
And I said, I remember, meeting Tim Herbert back in 1990. So a couple years ago. And so it's been a big family thing for me. It's kind of what we've always been a part of. It's just all I know, really.
Yeah. And when it's ingrained in your family, like having the things that come with this job, it's not just some people work a job. Oh yeah, we've been lawyers forever. When you go to a school that's like the football game's built into it, the basketball, the homecoming, all that stuff is built into your family. And it's like, you really you live it.
Right.
Which is a huge
spent a lot
piece
of years and Friday nights and Saturdays with wrestling, Friday nights to football, and and always had the huge support from my mom, obviously, and she's been up here the past few days and helping out with the ACTs. So she retired, but she never really left.
Oh yeah, and it's always great to see her come up because she always has just so many great things to talk about, things to add, and you never can make these things up.
She genuinely really loves Central High School. She loves being a part of the family still. So
that's great.
That's always good to have.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let's reflect on your years, of course, being here. What is something that you appreciate about Central now teaching here versus when you went here as a student?
I thought about that when we talked about some of the questions you might ask, and I think one of the things I keep getting coming back full circle to is that the process of working with the kid for 4 years from this angle now as opposed to the other angle as a student. The teachers do put a lot of time in. They do put a lot of effort in. They do want to help. They want you to succeed. They want you to achieve success. So I think my biggest thing for me as an adult in the building now is I want kids to love Central like I do. And I really want them to enjoy the high school process like I did because all these years later, you look back and you think, I really did love this place, and I still really do love this place. So I want kids to have that same feeling. So, yeah, it's been a roller coaster of fun, if to say the least.
Yeah.
And to throw that out there. And it's just been it's so nice to see so many people, whether you're in the social studies department or I'm in the P department, but working together to make sure we're doing the right things by kids and helping them get to where they want to be or get to where they need to be.
Yeah, you think of a kid freshman year too. I mean, you come in freshman year, you're a older 8th grader, and then how they grow and how they change. And,
Yeah.
hey, like, I want to support you. I want to give you this outlet. Hey, let's make sure we're here. Hey, it's good to see you at the football game. Like, building that over 4 years is not something that some people think of long term.
Right, and I love that process. That's probably one of the most fun parts about being here is that process, and then seeing them later on, grocery stores or establishments out in public.
Oh, and
you
they
see
come
them,
say
they're
hi.
like, and they'll bring up a story, and you're like, "You remember when this happened?" And you're like, "No," because all the years just kind of roll into each other now. So no, it's nice to see those kids, and they kind of remind you of some things that throw you back a bunch of years, and that whole process has been pretty fun with kids.
Yeah, very cool. Well, to jump around a little bit, but I've always, of course, your mom being the special education department head, I've heard stories over the years. You've been a huge advocate for students with disabilities. Even in your high school years, I've heard stories of you eating lunch always with students, anybody and everybody you'd eat lunch with. Take us through that. Where does that love come from, that openness come from?
I think the love for gravitating towards specific kids, I think that comes from my mom.
Yeah.
But then when you start doing it, you start to just grow a love of your own for it, and you start to build that camaraderie and those relationships with those kids. Just because it's fun to put yourself out there and meet new people, and that's kind of how it started. And then we're just working with kids of all different abilities or disabilities has been just great and wonderful.
Yeah.
Being able to have a class full of kids in the weight room, and then you flip it over to a bunch of kids that are coming down from the ACP room, and then you just kind of flip that switch and you go into a kind of a, not as much as a different mode of a teacher, but it is a different setting.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with you're working with a lot of different personalities or disabilities, so it's a lot different than a normal classroom setting.
Yeah.
So I think my love for that definitely comes from my mom, but I think just having an outgoing personality is what's kind of made it easier to adapt to, and then they're just kids.
Yeah.
Kids need help, and kids need your help, and kids need our help. So
And this is what we're here for, to welcome that too. Well, that's great. And even you think of when you leave high school, people are people, and recognizing that not everybody is the same, that some people may have a disability, some people may have some trauma they're working through things, and having that openness and willing to work with anybody, really gives you a better outlook on life, and to recognize people that just need some support too.
Yeah, I think you said it perfect. That openness and the willingness to put yourself out there and work with anybody. I like to take some pride in being able to work with any student or any adult.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we see eye to eye on something or we don't, and if the main goal is to help kids and work together, then we're going to be able to do that.
Totally. Perfect. That's awesome. Well, let's talk a little wrestling, of course.
All right.
This is going to be a great topic for you. You, of course, wrestled under head coach Jimmy Foster. Take us through, once again, what it was like being a wrestler under Foster, and now being a colleague with Coach Foster.
When we were on the wrestling team in the early 2000s, we didn't have a lot of team success right away.
And then
Foster was still in that periodization of building the program to where he needed it to be and where he wanted it to be. So we were kind of in those early years. We look back at some of the kids now, and if you bring shout out to Chuck Mulligan, if you were to bring Chuck Mulligan in here, he'd say that we've gotten soft on the kids. But I think times have changed a little bit, and the reason it may seem that way is we joke about it now, but I think the realization of it is Coach Foster had implemented and put in so much of his philosophy into the Central Wrestling program, and I've been able to carry that over, being an athlete under him and then being a coach under him for so long. I think he did such a great job that we don't have to have those. We used to call them old gym practices. We used to practice in the old gym. We don't have a lot of some of those practices, like the infamous post South High match practice. We don't have a lot of those kinds of practice anymore, because everything's more driven towards, we have a culture. We have kids that come in and want to get better, and they want to be good at wrestling, and they want to do things the right way, and they want to be great people. So once you have that culture implemented into your program, it's been kind of easy to, not easy, but it's a lot more refreshing to know that it's kind of set that way and he implemented that. He did a really good job. He did a great job, fantastic job of handing me a program that's already achieved so much success. So it kind of made it easy. Being successful is never easy, but that process made it easier to be able to do some of the things that we've done this past year.
Totally. Well, a big part of that culture and that process he's built on is the OOS culture. Now, take us through, what is OOS for our listeners at home? What is it? Where does it come from? What does it mean to the Central program?
The OOS translation originally is a Japanese derivative word. And it's two words actually put together, and it became pretty big in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu platform. But the O's and the S's together, they mean that you're going to endure the process. You're going to give everything you have. You're going to respect your opponent because I want you to respect me. But at the end of the day, we're going to shake hands. We're going to get after it. And then we're going to shake hands at the end, and we're going to respect each other. And it's about bringing the best that you have available in that moment to compete and show what you got. And then let's put it out there. Let's see who's better, and let's get after it. And
that's awesome.
I don't know if this is true, but I say it to people, but I think wrestling is like the longest reigning form of like sport or activity in the world. Going back to like obviously the Greco-Roman days, and we still have Greco-Roman wrestling. So to be able to continue all these years later with that sport, and then the OOS culture, and then giving your best and doing everything you can to provide your best, I think that's really, when I hear OOS, it always means, it might mean something different to everybody. It always means family. And when I hear OOS, that means something really good just happened. So where somebody's doing really well out there, and we're OOSing them and throwing it out there. So the OOS culture is, one thing that I made sure that some things may have changed, or some things might change from now till when I get done, but that OOS culture will never change.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see just how people buy into that and they accept that, and it's just such a staple part of that. I mean, you go to a wrestling meet and there's a pin, or at the end of a long conversation or a pep talk, coach say OOS and people say it back. Like, that's such a cool connection. Right.
And that carries over. The kids like it. The kids enjoy it. They know that, you want to work for OOS. You want to go out there and earn yourself an OOS. That's always nice.
Well, and how many programs can say they have their battle cry tattooed on people's bodies? I mean, there's maybe 6 or 7 OOSes out there.
3 programs I know of off the top of my head, and one would be UNO back when they had wrestling, and then Maryville where Coach Denny was at, and then Central. So besides that, I think it's a small population of people.
Well, very cool. I love that.
Celebrate that culture.
Well, a big part of wrestling, of course, too, is the nicknames. There's so many great nicknames. I think of the nicknames are so big, too, because there's so many I know, but even I've known kids that I've had in class. Like I had Smiley as a freshman. Great kid, great, phenomenal wrestler, long-term program guy. But I had him as a freshman. I knew his first name. Mm-hmm. Well, then years go on, and you have so many kids. Well, then he kept being called Smiley. I couldn't recall his first name.
Oh, wow.
Because I just knew him as Smiley because he's a Smiley kid. Yeah. It fits who he is, like that type of thing. So take us through, what are some great nicknames that have come up over the years?
Oh, man, we got, Smiley. Right now on the team, Isaiah Moore. He's Mr. Smooth. I call him Mr. Smooth.
I know Isaiah.
He's always trying to be a smooth talker. And then Honey Bear.
Honey Bear.
Honey Bear. That's a good one. Kevin Boston, state finalist for it. DJ, we called him a little photo booth because he really big into photography. And when we were in high school, we had a kid that Coach Foster nicknamed him Blue Shorts because he wore blue shorts.
And it's so simple, but then like when they stick, and then it's long term, and even you'll hear Foster does like a soccer game, he'll give nicknames out for people. Yeah. Like, it's such a cool little.
I'm not positive about this, but I think Coach Denny was pretty cool about giving kids nicknames back when they were at UNO. And now I don't know if that's necessarily I could be speaking, and that could be completely wrong. Mm-hmm. But I think they were big on nicknames, and I think it's just if you get a nickname, I think it's a sign of like, oh, they want me around here. They want me to keep coming back. So we try to get, and it's you can't just grab a kid and say, all right, I'm going to call you Jeans today.
Yeah.
No, it's like, this is going to be a nickname, and so we're going to try and get it to stick with you. Mm-hmm. Alsafa Al-Khalil, the Slim Reaper. Yeah. Chuck Mulligan gave her that nickname. She was, we thought she was doing a good job putting girls to sleep, and she's slim, and the Slim Reaper kind of fit. And her sister's Almaro, and she's Marmar, and so
it's making that connection. It's not just hey, you're this, even blue shirts, but still, even you're this. It's a building type.
And then before you know it, kids are in the hallway calling Kevin Boston the Honey Bear.
Yeah.
or everybody in our class calls Ethan Smiley because very rarely have I written his name down as Ethan.
Yeah.
So I have to always write it down as Smiley, and then when you put his name into tournaments and you write down Smiley, they're like, no, it's Ethan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But the nickname thing's always been pretty cool, and I liked it, and it's still there, and it's fun, and the kids enjoy it, and that's what it's about. The kids enjoy it, so we're going to keep doing that and keep being creative and find different ways to find some nicknames and keep throwing that out there and run with it.
Totally. Well, you've talked about a couple big things as goals as coach, keeping the youth culture going, keeping the nicknames going. What are some other goals you have as the first, having the reins of the men's program for the first time this year?
So, I from the standpoint of our entire program and the three heads of our program with the boys team, the girls team, and the Dirty Eagles, our club team, the number one goal is always going to be the same, and that's that we're going to create good people. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be with us for 4 years, you're going to be a good person.
Yeah,
you're going to do the things right. You're going to be successful in life. You're going to be a good father, mother, husband, sister, uncle, aunt, whatever it is that you are. You're going to be good at that.
Yeah.
Teacher, coach, whatever you want to do, strive to be your best. And I think that's going to be the thing that we're going to continue to hang our hat on, is because, there's just years where you don't have as much success as you'd like. Mm-hmm. And we're always still going to be able to hang our hat on, well, we have great human beings. We have great Central students that are on our athletic team at Central High School in the wrestling program. So I know for a fact that's going to be something that we continue to implement, is that we're just going to continue to make great people. So when you walk in that door as a freshman and then you leave as a senior, you're going to be a great human being.
Totally. That's awesome. Well, speaking of the girls program, of course, last year was the first year that Central and the state of Nebraska adopted a specific sport for girls wrestling. And what's really been great to see around Nebraska, but especially here at Central, is you guys have done such a great job it's an open arms welcome thing. It is that OOS culture, that culture around boys wrestling has been extended very easily to that. How have you guys done that? How have you extended to welcome this new program and all the girls who are wrestling for you guys?
It's funny that you asked that, because people have asked that too. And then the answer is kind of not wishy-washy. It's a straightforward answer. We never made it a girls team and a boys team.
Yeah.
Until we compete.
Totally.
We'll go to compete in a duel. We'll have the girls duel. We'll have the boys duel, and they'll have their own separate scores. But when we're in the practice room, we're all a team.
Yeah.
When we're in the hallway, we're the Central Wrestling program. And I think that's the cool part about wrestling for girls being started so late, and it being, it's an Olympic sport.
Yep.
It's advanced in some other states, but it starting so late, the cool part has been, though, that girls basketball, boys basketball, they're separate. They practice differently.
Yeah.
Girls soccer, boys soccer. We are able to practice in the same room, implement the same culture, same values into one program. So we just kind of hang our hat on 2 teams, 1 family.
Totally.
And 3 teams, 1 family when you add in our club team.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's cool to see, too, because you think of, while each boys soccer, girls basketball, boys basketball may play different, a takedown's a takedown.
Right.
Very
2
much.
points.
If you're learning the same way, you're learning the same structure, they're the same moves. You can learn that together. You can learn that no matter who you are and what team you're on. You can learn that very easily with one another. So that's a great kind of like how you're going to wrestle the same way.
And then there's that, I don't know where this saying came from, but there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Mm-hmm. Well, we skin cats certain ways in our room, and it's worked for us. And until it doesn't work for us, we're going to keep doing it the same way we're doing it. There will be times you got to say, what can we do to make this specific part of our program better? And then we'll reevaluate that. But at the time, there are 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but we do things in our room one specific way, and it's kind of you get honor.
Well, it's cool to see how you're connecting those things, where you're making those connections where it's, hey, like, you can work on certain things, but same in the end.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break to do our Eagle shout-outs. Our Eagle shout-outs are brought to you by, of course, the Central High Foundation. Visit chsfomaha.org to support the foundation and support your Eagles. Our first shout-out goes to Joshua King. Joshua was recently featured in the Omaha Public Schools Portrait of a Graduate. Head to Omaha Public Schools social media to meet Mr. King, who represents the Eagle way. Shout-out goes to the Eagle athletes who signed to compete at the collegiate level. They include Paul Hobbsa. Paul Hobbsa is the first female Eagle wrestler to sign to compete at the collegiate level. Paul signed with the University of Sioux Falls. Great job, Pa. Oos to her. Our next athlete is Alex Farron, a baseball player who signed to go play baseball at Dakota State University. Our last one is Nile Yor, who signed to play soccer at Bellevue University. Great job, Eagle Athletics. Way to represent Central well. And our last shout-out goes to the Central High Journalism Department. The Register and O-Book students, along with Mr. Hilgenkamp, are headed to San Francisco to learn more and more about journalism, learn more and more about the yearbook. Major shout-out to them to leave the confines of Central High and explore the world. Let's get back to our episode with Mr. Storm. Let's talk teaching, of course. You are a huge relationship builder, teaching physical education, teaching weightlifting, teaching these things. You're always building relationships with kids. So take us through how you're like you said earlier, you're very open, but take us through how you're so good at that.
In the academic standpoint, for me as a teacher, for me, building relationships in the weight room has been pretty easy. Because one thing I always tell kids in the weight room is numbers don't lie. Your girlfriend might lie, your boyfriend might lie. You know, maybe even your parents might throw a fib in there too, but weights don't lie, numbers don't lie.
No.
I just think it's a great environment now. I have to explain this to people sometimes because they'll say the kids seem to have so much fun in your class, but they're not having any fun in my class. And it's like, it's not you, it's not the subject, it's the atmosphere. We're in a weight room. I'm gonna crank the music, we're gonna get after it. We're gonna listen to music, we're gonna lift weights, we're gonna talk maybe in your class when, if you're not supposed to be talking right now, nobody should be talking. Well, that doesn't really happen a lot in my class.
Yeah.
I try to build that same kind of culture that we welcome people like in wrestling as I do in my academic approach to kids. Everybody's welcome. Everybody should lift weights for a few years out of your life, decide if that's what you want to do or not. If that's what you want to do to try to stay physically active or physically fit, go for it. I'm here to help you. If not, this can be a base for, maybe you want to be a bike rider, but this could be a way to start that.
Yeah, and learning how to be fit and learning
all that stuff. So I just think being accepting of everybody and everything that's going on and just saying, hey, when you walk through this room, today we're bench pressing and we're going to work on our pecs and we're going to work on our triceps, or we might be working on our legs and squatting. So it's been a cool place where they can kind of check at the door and kind of forget about some things that might be going on in their life. And then because that's the one thing I think about just physical fitness in general at all. Like, it's a good time for you to, all right, well, something's really bothering me. Well, I'm going to shut it off now. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to get after it. And then just, like I said, that atmosphere of being able to create that the respect between you and the students, and then building an atmosphere where you continuously want them to come back. And I think that's the biggest thing for teachers is anything I tell young teachers that ask me any questions, I always say, make sure you're doing things that make the kids want to come back to your class.
Yeah.
Don't make them say, I have to go to Mr. Storm's class. This is going to be terrible. He's just always in a bad mood. No, like what we talked about earlier before we started the podcast, that we're just, as teachers, sometimes we're just not allowed to have bad days or show it. So
totally
try to make every day a good day. Every day's got to be positive. Everything's got to be positive, and keep inviting kids to come and join into your class.
Totally. Well, looking outside of the weight room, of course, you help, we're of course recording the ACP room, but you help the ACP students with physical education.
Right.
Talk us through what it's been like to work with the ACP kids over the years, because I know they love you. I know some students joke about your beard smells, supposedly.
Oh, man, that's a new one. I shampoo it every day and take care of it, too, so sometimes a few times a day. No, you know what? They're just so fun to be around. And the coolest part about having them is they're right in the middle of your day.
Mm-hmm.
So if something didn't go well in the morning, it's going to change because they're going to change your day. They're going to change your outlook on education. They're just so fun to work with. Everything's delightful. It's just the best. If you can, I have a friend that's in California and I'm super jealous of him all the time. He travels from school to school all over LA County, and his job is, he is an ACP only PE teacher.
That's cool.
So he travels from school to school, facility to facility. I'm like, oh man, that's like a dream job. That's amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. It's just so much fun, and they show up every day wanting you to be there, wanting you to be around, wanting to participate, wanting to get after it in class. So their approach to it in that this specific group of kids, their approach to it's always pretty fun. Yeah. They're fun to be around. They're just class act, great teachers, great classroom teachers they have up here. Mm-hmm, so
totally. And even you think of we talk about you have a tough day. Oh, poor me, I've had a tough day. You look students like that, like, hey, like they're smiling every single day. They might not have the same advantages that you and I have in the world, but every day they're going to smile. They're going to come out there. They're going to have fun.
Yeah. And, from outside looking in, some people will say, well, you get to work with kids with disabilities. That's true, but sometimes maybe I'm the one with the disability and it's flipped.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe life for them is just awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's out here on the other side struggling. So when you look at it like that and approach it like every kid needs help, every kid wants your help, every kid needs your help, if you approach it that way, you'll have a lot of success. And we just have a lot of fun. It's all about having fun and back to that culture of welcoming kids into your classroom.
Cool. Perfect. Well, for closing, let's get to our last one. What's your message to the Central community, families, students, parents, and the thousands of alumni out there?
I still think to this day, through and through, I think Central's the place to be. Central's the place to be if you're a teacher in the district and you're looking at from the elementary or you're looking in the middle school way to work on up. I think Central's a place to be. If you're looking for a different scenery as a high school teacher, I still think Central's a place to be. It's an elite school.
Mm-hmm.
Great teachers.
Yeah.
Great teachers. A lot of teachers, not a lot. There used to be a lot more teachers that taught me when I first got here, and they're kind of shuffling their way out. But a lot of great teachers, a lot of people that want to work with kids and give them better and more opportunities. So I still think Central is a great place, and it's still a hot commodity and a good place to be.
Perfect.
Especially in the wrestling program.
Especially if you have a wrestler or somebody who's really tough.
Right. You got kids out there that are wrestling or want to wrestle. Dirty Eagles Wrestling Club and Central High School wrestling teams are where you want to be.
Perfect. Well, I love it. Well, thanks so much for sitting with me.
I appreciate you having me.
A long week. This was Chatting at Sea. Matt Storm.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
All right.